Now it's time for us to create the walls and then add a ceiling and a floor to our house. I'm going to select my walls. I'm going to uncheck snap now because I don't need it anymore. And I'm going to choose modifiers, mesh editing, extrude. And I'm going to set the extrusion amount to 300. Now on the top view I cannot see how much the extrusion went, so I have to press Alt W on the keyboard and switch to my perspective view, and this is where I see my extruded walls. Okay, I'm gonna change their color, and now I'm gonna create the ceiling and the floor. So I'm gonna select this object here, which is the walls, and I'm gonna name it walls. Now to create the floor, I'm gonna extract the outer spline that I created at the beginning of the exercise, because that one defines the dimensions of my floor. So I'm gonna select this outer spline first by selecting the outer walls like this. So I went to editable spline, I clicked on spline and I selected the outer walls like that, and I'm gonna scroll down and choose detach and copy. So I'm gonna check copy and click on detach, and I'm gonna call the new shape floor. So now I'm gonna close spline and deselect the object, and I will see that I did not hurt my walls in any way. So if I press H on the keyboard now, I will see that I have a floor object, which I will double click on to select it. Now I'm gonna right click and choose hide unselected, and that way I can only see the floor object. Next I'm gonna switch to my top view, and I'm gonna convert this wall thickness into a filled floor. And the way to do that is to expand editable spline and then click on segment. I'm gonna select these segments, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4 segments, and I'm gonna delete them. The reason I deleted them is that now I would be able to access the inner spline and delete that, which will leave me the outer spline like so. And now I'm gonna go to vertex, and I'm gonna scroll up and choose connect. And what this will enable me to do is to create a connection between these open-ended vertices, so that I have a fully closed shape, and that shape will define my floor. So now I'm going to exit vertex, and I will switch back to the perspective view, and I'm going to extrude this floor by a value of negative 20 centimeters. The reason I'm going to use negative 20 is that I don't want the floor to be higher than the zero level, but lower than the zero level. So I'm going to choose modifiers, mesh editing, extrude, and I'll set the amount of extrusion to negative 20. I'm also going to change the color to differentiate this from the walls. So now I'm going to right click and choose unhide all, and now I will see that I have my floor and my walls as two separate objects. So if I select this object, I'm going to have walls, and if I select this one, I will have floor, and they are both three-dimensional extrusions. Now to create the ceiling, it's very simple. All I have to do is create a copy of the floor object. Now make sure that you don't accidentally move by mistake the floor, otherwise you're going to have problems in the alignment. So what I'm going to do now is select my floor and press Ctrl V on the keyboard, and I'll choose copy, and the new name is going to be called ceiling. Now I'm going to switch to my front view by pressing Alt W and then going to front and pressing Alt W again. Now I have to move up this ceiling to a value of 300 because the height of my walls is 300, but the extrusion is set to negative 20. So I'm going to set the amount of extrusion for the ceiling to a value of 20, and then I'm going to set the Z value, which is the vertical height of my ceiling, to a value of 300, and that will put the ceiling exactly where it needs to be. Okay, so now I have the floor the ceiling and the walls. Now over here I'm going to have the balconies. Okay, now to make things clearer for my work, I'm going to hide the ceiling. So I'm going to select it and right click and choose hide selection. In case you could not select it properly, press H on the keyboard to select by name, and then double click on ceiling and then right click and choose hide selection. So that would leave me with my shapes and the 3D objects that are the floor and the walls. So now I'm going to create the doors, but before I create the doors, I'm going to notice that the opening for the door is open all the way up, and the door is only 220 centimeters high. So I have to create a box here for every door opening that would fill up the upper space above the door. Okay, to do that I'm going to switch to my top view. Now I'm going to press F3 to have the wireframe mode, and I'm going to go to create geometry and I'm going to click on box. And now, making sure that snap is active, I'm going to create my boxes like so. So this is a box. If I go to modify, I'm going to set the height to 80 centimeters. The reason I'm choosing 80 again is because the door is going to be 220, and this is the lintel above the door that is going to have a height of 80. So this has to be moved up to a Z value of 220. So I'll select it, and under Z I'll type 220, and this will move it upwards like so. So I have to repeat this operation for all the openings right now. So I'm gonna switch back to my top view, and here I can create copies of this since they are properly placed in the Z axis. I don't have to move them back again if I created new ones. So I'm gonna press Shift on the keyboard and drag a copy and choose OK, and I'll repeat this until all the openings are filled. Now in case your openings had different dimensions, you would have to create the objects again. Okay, where else do we have? I have one here, so press Shift and drag a copy down here. Okay, now I'm looking for the horizontal ones. I think that's it. So here I have a vertical one. So I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to choose rotate and angle snap. So I'm going to rotate this by a value of, actually I'm going to rotate a copy, so I'll have to press Shift and then rotate by a value of 90 degrees. Press OK, and I'm going to move this over here. Now in case I could not really catch it with the grid snap, I can either use vertex snap or I can type in a value here. So let's use vertex snap to really fix it into position. I'm going to right click and on 2.5D snap and choose snap to vertex and to grid points. And now I'm going to select this vertex and snap it to that grid point here. And then I'm going to uncheck vertex to go back to grid points. Okay, so let's look at these from the perspective view. Okay, here we see that everything is properly fit. I would probably need to have one here too, which is the entrance to the dinner room. Okay, so I'll go back to my top view, and this is where I need to create my last box. So start here, finish there, move up and click to define a height of 80 centimeters, and then the Z value has to be 220. Okay, so looking at this now, I see that everything is properly created. What I still need to do is create, I would probably create another one here, another one there. So let's do that. Even though I'm not going to have doors over here, but it's better than leaving them all the way up. So again, I'm going to press S to snap, and I'll press Shift and create my object over here. Press OK and zoom over and move from this point down to that one. And over here I need 2 meters, so I can use this one. Press Shift and create a copy and move the copy exactly into position. Okay, so everything is set now. What I have to do next is change the color of all these objects so that they would have one unified color. So I'm going to select them all from the front view except for the floor, and I will give them the same color. Okay, so now all my walls are perfectly aligned, and next I would have to create my doors. And to create the doors, I'm gonna use the new door objects that are available in Max 6. Still, I need to create one here because this is the entrance, and the door of the entrance is gonna be again 220. So I will go to create, choose box, and go like that. I can do it to the outside, but I'm gonna do it to the inside. Alright, and the height is 80 here, and the Z value is 220. And again, I'm gonna give it the same color as the other objects. So now all my walls are complete, and next I'm gonna create the doors.